Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sarah Berry Show podcast. I know I say this at the beginning of every episode, but you guys, I am very, very excited about this one in particular because I'm finding my favorite thing is to talk to other fellow creatives that are kind of out there in the trenches, learning as they go, building businesses and doing it all right smack dab in the middle of life, and oftentimes right in their kitchen or in their living room as they do it. So this is episode 12. And today we have a very special guest. This friend of mine, we have never actually met in person. And I'll give you a little bit of a backdrop. I think she didn't know what she signed up for when she put a little message in a Facebook group that we were a part of 4 years ago. But I am so thankful for the work that she did for me then. And then we have just remained kind of connected actually over social media ever since. And I follow what she's up to. And I admire actually a lot of what she's doing. And I kind of strive to follow some of her practices, especially in her social media channels as it relates to her business and some of those things. So today on the podcast, I have my friend Chelly Ontis. She is kind of like a neighbor. She's north of me in North Dakota. And we are in a mutual business group together. And it's, if any of you have ever been in a business group, there's lots of commenting and any kind of forum or anything like that. And I was really, really kind of stuck where I was. For those of you that don't know, I run an Etsy shop, and one of the biggest sellers in that Etsy shop is baseball wreaths. And I was getting inundated to the point that I think the year that I contacted Chelly, or that we connected, was back in 2018. And I had ordered 15,000 baseballs that year to make all these baseball wreaths. And then each of the wreaths have a custom sign that goes with that. And then on that custom sign, there's custom lettering and there's phrases. And of course, all these baseball sayings. And I was getting to the point where I was just pulling my hair out and it was time for some help. And I just kind of threw it out there into this group. This is what I do. Is anybody out there? Is anybody listening? Is really kind of what it was. And sweet Chelly came back and said, well, I can help you with that. And next thing I know, we're on a call and she has agreed to sign up to cut all of these vinyls. And cutting is kind of the easy part, you guys. It's the weeding. And those of you that are in the craft industry know what that is. And she did a phenomenal job for me. And I'm still making those baseball wreaths, but it's a little different scenario now. And Chelly is still just as busy doing her things. So just to give you a little bit of background, but I am going to turn it over and say hello, Chelly. I am so happy you're here. Thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. And I'm just excited really to kind of catch up in person and to hear what you're up to and talk business, my friend. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to have a face-to-face conversation. We're neighbors, like you said, but even if we can't, every time my husband's from Colorado and we've gone down there a couple of times, every time we go through, I always think, I wonder where Sarah's at.
Well, come on over.
Yeah. There's a lot of prairie there. Well, not really prairie, here it's prairie, there it's a little bit different, but
yes.
A lot of space to think.
Yeah. So Chelly, give us a little idea. So we know you're in North Dakota, but just tell us, who are you? What do you do? What keeps you busy?
Sure.
What keeps you out of trouble? Give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see behind me my craft studio. This is probably what keeps me out of trouble. I have been a graphic designer and helping people with marketing since 1997. Wow. So it's not, I'm not new to the entrepreneur world, but I ended up in 2013 being a single mom and thought, okay, there's only so many hours I can do graphic design. I need to branch out, and I need something else when my kids aren't around 24/7, which was just if you're a mom, you understand that it's just a whole new life. And then it's emotional for you because now this brain space is not overwhelmed, but just blank, there's nothing and nobody taking it up. So then I started down the I spent way too much of my free time on Pinterest and saw a pin that said, start a blog, make some money. It's not quite as smooth as that pin probably was, but
all of my Pinterest things are just perfect and on spot on. I wish I could remember.
Yeah, right. So I ended up down that rabbit hole, I guess, building a website, and I'd had some website experience. I kind of understood the concept. I didn't do coding. That's where I checked out and said, this isn't for me. I'm just going to do design. So I had the experience that way with websites, and I thought, how bad can WordPress be? If I could do it again, I would have somebody else set it up and then figure how to maintain it. But here we are, 4 or 5 years later, and I just started to do digital files. So if you have a Cricut or Silhouette, a Glowforge, Brother, Cut and Scan, whatever it is, you use the digital files, SVG, the scalable vector graphics, and you can download them and make cards, scrapbook pages, graphic tees, home decor. And that's where it took up a lot of time to get it going. I'm really glad I put in the hours, and now it's paying off. And then I ended up in that space of overwhelm, like we often do as, whether it's your hobby or it's your full-time job or your side gig. There's just a lot, especially marketing online.
Yeah, so, I'm raising my hand. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm going to raise both hands.
All and maybe a foot.
Yeah, when you say that word overwhelm, it's like, oh, I think there's an entrepreneur or two out there that can relate to that feeling for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I thought, okay, I have to have it organized where I can see it. And visual, obviously, with a graphic designer, I got to get it out of my head. So where can I organize it? So I bought just about every planner out there, I think, and thought, okay, I don't need a planner to track my water. I don't need to plan my meals. I need just a space to grow my business and keep it out of my head. Because otherwise, if I don't write it down, it's either not going to happen or I can't get to the next level. So that is where the Entrepreneur Planner was born. And this was the 2022 one I have. If you're watching this,
isn't that like, oh, it's so pretty. I love the cover on that one. So pretty.
Thank you. So that was where I thought, okay, this will help. And then if you have a website or an Etsy store, you understand traffic is key. So I set out, had all the tech stuff set up, and now it was time to actually build the connections with the website. So then I was like, okay, this goal, I think it was in January of 2020. I said, I'm going to work on my traffic, double it so I can get ads. And then maybe by the next year I can triple it, and so on and so forth. I started using the planner strictly for the blogging to get the traffic. And I used about 60% of the planner's prompts, and I 6 times my website traffic in 4 months. And it was like, oh, well, look at that.
It works.
Yeah. So I'm like, I am my biggest fan. I don't know if that makes me really tacky or not, but I wouldn't be able to run my business without it. And I have been doing social media marketing for many of our local clients for years as well. And I always say when I first started my business, we didn't even have email. So I've kind of grown with it as So I had to print the proofs and drive them down there, we'd write on them, and I'd come back home and do it, drive back down there. So it's a whole different world, and having ways to organize all that has been a key to success.
It is. And you've heard me say it. I am a textbook kind of creative brain. And I think especially when people are in a creative industry, and I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush here, but I feel like we're good at what we're good at. And as you get into business, especially, and when demand gets higher, I think it really begins to point out the things that you realize you're not good at. And organization and consistency is an underlying theme that I hear from people that are in the creative industry. Is they're good at the creating and the vision and the inspiring people and building things and making all things new and changed. But the keeping it organized and keeping it consistent, I think, is almost a theme that I would say. Do you see that across the people that you deal with? Yeah.
And because like you said, we have all these great creative ideas, but those checklists have to be done every day. It was like, okay, as soon as this idea is out, but then that always sparks a new idea for us. We end up down that rabbit hole. And why if you have all those boxes you're supposed to check every day, literally with boxes you're supposed to check every day, it helps that creative brain that we have actually check it off, make some notes, and then you can see the overall picture, because a lot of times, to get deep into social media marketing, but a lot of times we hear we're supposed to post our things we're doing, or connect with people in our Etsy store and promote it that way, and then you're like, okay, it's now 2:45, I got to pick the kids up at 3:30. What can I just push out quick to say that I did it?
Yeah.
What if you sat down for 45 minutes, you planned all your topics, and you planned all the ways you were connecting with them. And then when you have that half an hour, or if you're using scheduling, you could just do this once a month, but then you can sit down and go, okay, I have to post today, and I'm going to tell them about this, next week about this. And then on the third or fourth week, when you are dropping that special or that sale or your cart open or whatever it is, you've taken them through this journey. So you've used your social media to prepare them for the next thing that's coming, to either connect them, to educate them, to entertain them, and then to sell to them.
Sure.
And that becomes more organized for you, so you don't have that overwhelm, but then you can just look at it all, with your monthly view or your weekly views, and put it all together in a story that makes sense for you. And then it will make sense for your customers.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to touch on that. You said something that really kind of piqued my interest. So you will understand this because Chelly, look at her beautiful craft room, by the way. And if you're not on YouTube, you need to be. I told her that I just love how bright and airy, and oh, by the way, organized. Look at all those cute containers. I mean, you would need to go to therapy if you came and saw where I work, Chelly. So one day maybe I will show you, but it's not today.
Well, you didn't see me put stuff on the floor because my desk was messy. I just got back from the trip, so I had some
but what I was thinking as you were talking is, okay, so I'm fairly product based. And whether I think, and this would speak to anybody that is either like handmade products or even digital. If you are product based and you're having to turn out things to sell, what advice do you have to somebody? And this is actually one of my hangups, in fact, as a product based business. It's a good problem to have, but when I post something, it almost reminds people, oh, I need to buy, and I need to buy more. And sometimes I only have one or two, and I'm already backlogged with orders, or I'm already backlogged with things. And it kind of works against me, because then I just get that much busier, that much more behind. So what advice do you have for someone that would use your planner, for example, to do kind of the in-between when you're not real, and I don't want to sell every post. I don't think that's wise, and that's just not who I am. But what advice would you have for somebody in kind of those in-between times to keep that engagement going and some of that, but not feel like, first of all, that you have to constantly sell, or maybe you don't want to be very visible, because then you will sell, and you get that much further behind. So how does your planner help with that?
Okay, so two comments. I mean, and this will work if you are, like you said, busy, where you're caught up and you want to control when those sales come in, or if you want more sales.
Yeah.
And I would say plan your social media marketing. So these are your posts, your stories, your reels, your emails, if you're sending emails out to people, all of that, or your pins on Pinterest. If you could make, well, maybe not your pins on Pinterest for this first tip, but I would say if you've had a craft booth, or if you've been to a craft booth, and I'm guessing if you're listening to us, you have either done both even this last week, or at least one of them. I would suggest to schedule posts that are similar to when the social media becomes your craft booth or becomes your store. And when somebody walks into your booth or walks into your brick and mortar store, you're not instantly saying, buy my earrings, buy my shirt, buy my wreath. Right. You're saying, well, in North Dakota, we say a lot, it is freezing outside.
Yeah, it is here too.
Yeah, you start that, that weather. I was just in Arizona, and I guess there they say it's hot. It was so funny. I first got there, and I think it was 80 out, and we were at a restaurant, and we went to go eat, and the people in front of us said, oh, it's too cold. I think we'll have to sit inside. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's that. Anyway, kind of on a tangent there. So there's that small talk. And when you put that into this is what social media is for. So people don't want to be sold to. And if you're not sure, you're not comfortable being on camera, if you don't want them into your personal life, yes, there's plenty of other things you could do. I don't understand the whole towel post. Where do you roll your towels, or you fold your towels?
Oh my goodness. It's all over.
And those get a ton of interaction. And the good thing
Yeah.
is you put that out there, people comment whether they roll them or fold them, and then that creates engagement. So then Facebook or Instagram thinks, oh, her followers or lots of people really like her. So whatever she posts next, we're going to show it to everybody. You
Yeah.
know, instead of that 3 to 5% reach, maybe you now have 20% reach.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't always have to be talking about your product. And if
Yeah.
you can space that out, with the planner, we give you a kind of a little cheat sheet so that you just ideas, like maybe it's Maker Monday. So you show your messy space or your tools or unpack products or those kind of things. And then maybe you talk about a meme, inspirational quote. Maybe you ask them a question like the towels. Or another one that does really well on our page is if you say, you can only pick one that you can have for the rest of your life, what will it be? And it's ice cream or cake.
Oh my goodness. Don't make me choose. Don't even go there.
They have to make it, yeah, really emotional. I mean, I would be happy eating both the rest of my life, obviously, but those are the kind of things that the planner will help you organize. And when you know kind of a checklist, this is what I have to do today, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then I always tell people, don't forget to give yourself grace because life happens, kids get busy, you know, especially we're going into December as we're shooting this, and there's concerts and parties and
Yeah.
events and things that you have to get done. And if you forget to post one day, just move to the next.
Yeah. Well, so I want to rewind just a little bit for some of you that maybe are not as familiar with, hey, Chelly, why do we have to post, or not have to? Why should I post every day? Why is that important? Can you kind of explain a little bit about why, you know, we've already said consistency, but consistency could mean once a week, it could mean once a month, but why, when you are working with social media, is every day kind of key?
Yes. So the algorithms, you know, the back end of your Facebook, Instagram, those kind of things, they're run by computers and they go by algorithms. So the numbers, the data, the things that you know you're putting out, and
Yeah.
if they can see that you've got things scheduled, and if they can see she posts a meme every a question, she asks a question every Tuesday and she gets lots of interaction, like
Mhm.
they start to detect that and they understand that your post and your brand is serious.
Mhm.
You're keeping people on their platform, which is what they want. So instead
Yeah.
of just posting, go to my Etsy store and buy this, you're like,
Right.
have a conversation with me and then go back and comment on those and say,
Yeah.
I roll my towels too, or I could happily eat ice cream every day for the rest of my life. You know, whatever it might be, is
Yeah.
just continue that conversation and be social. And
Mhm.
then that consistency over time we'll start to build up that momentum, and a few more comment this week, a few more comment next week. And
Mhm.
I was telling you before we hit record about a friend of mine who used the planner, and she started to use it for about 4 months, I believe it was, consistently. And she ended up 100 timesing her Facebook engagement, which then meant that many more people were going to her website. She had a
Oh my
course,
gosh.
and it was just the consistency and remembering to show up. And when you sit down and plan the month, um, you know, in advance, then
Mhm.
you know kind of that path you're taking, and it makes it easier for your customers to engage with you.
Yeah. You know, and I think we live in an interesting time too, Chelly. When did you say you started officially kind of in the marketing branding world? 1996,
7, yeah,
97.
97.
So Chelly was entrepreneur before entrepreneur was cool. I'm hearing that country song, you were country before country was cool. And I think it's fascinating because you have a really great depth of knowledge to draw from, to look at how, just in the time you've been doing it. I mean, think if we went back to the 70s or the 50s and looked at
Right.
what marketing was. I mean, it's actually very humorous to look at some of that, but we live in an interesting time where marketing really doesn't have to be this perfectly packaged, perfect anything anymore. I mean, you should, of course, have a brand if you want to be taken seriously as a business, then probably a logo. But when I work with the people I do, I say, you know, really just do you, be good at you, and the rest you can kind of plug in. And I think marketing is that way. It's so much more, I think our culture is craving authenticity. they're just craving, like you said, those daily interactions. And now that I know that you fold or roll your towels, I can relate more to you. I think, what do you see in working with bigger companies and doing some of the branding and marketing that you're doing for them? Are you seeing more of that kind of come into even larger companies?
And I think it's always been there. When you talk about the marketing back in the 70s and stuff, have you seen Mad Men on Netflix?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I love that show. So if you haven't checked it out, it's about
Yeah.
this agency back then. Don't watch it when the kids are up, maybe, but it's
Yes. Yep.
walking through some of their like cigarette campaigns and stuff like that, and how they first came out and they marketed that they were healthy and they helped you lose
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
You know, it's all a cycle, but the same type of thing. Even back then they did campaigns. So they did a newspaper ad, a magazine ad, when TV came out, then they would do TV ads, and they were all kind of the same, and they all kind of repurposed them.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing we're doing today. So they hired actors to be a face of a brand, and even Nike and all of, they're still doing it today, and they're paying millions, and
Yeah.
you get to just do it and be you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really because we do business with people that we can relate to. We don't do business with the Nike swoosh. We don't do business with the Hallmark logo. We do business with the stories and the personal connection. And we have social media. So we have a much cheaper outlet than they did back then with all those campaigns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Audience.
Well, so that leads me to a trick question I was going to ask you. If social media didn't exist tomorrow, how would you advise someone start marketing their business with that knowledge in mind? What would you tell them?
If social media didn't exist tomorrow, boy, would we have a lot of time on our hands.
Yes, we get things done.
Way more effective in the mornings. I would say it's going to go back to that, the craft shows and the booths, and you're going to have to go to stores and get your products in there. If email is still a thing, even as many hours as we spent on social media, Pinterest in our email list and organic traffic each of those levels blow them out of the water. So before we get caught up, I think when you're on those platforms where I have 10,000 followers and I just launched and we made like $60 gazillion, and you can do it too. But she doesn't tell you, or he doesn't tell you, that she has an email list with 100,000 people, and she's got somebody working on the SEO in the back end of her Etsy shop or her website 24/7 to get over there. So short-term success, I believe, comes from, or startup is Facebook and Instagram. And I think if you're in it for the long haul, doing what you can to, just put those products out on Pinterest, or make sure your SEO is good, because the things that I did that keep showing up on my Pinterest account, and I'm just like, oh, can we not look at that graphic, please, one more time? But
don't take it down. Don't take it down. It's still getting some traction with it. Yeah.
Or you put something up there, you think nobody's ever going to want to see this, but I feel like I have to put content out, because at first it is almost more quantity over quality, because you have to get your name out there, and you have to start having, if they come and you have one thing, they're going to leave. So you need something else for them to look at. You don't open a store with just that one t-shirt. It's a t-shirt, some earrings. You got to have a variety in there. And that's kind of the same way it was at the beginning. And now you can go back and tweak them. Like before, when those campaigns come up from those cigarette ads where they're telling you they're healthy, they can't tweak them. They're there. They're
in a museum somewhere now, I'm sure, framed. Yeah. Well, okay. So you are a fellow work from home. You're a boss mom or lady boss, or I don't usually use a lot of those terms. They're a little cringy to me, but I like entrepreneur or small business owner. But what can you tell me is the best thing for you about working from home?
Oh, geez. I was working in a furniture store, in 96. And then, in 97, I started working there. And about 30 days later, they said, oh, we're going to sell this whole department, so you don't have a job. So then I became an entrepreneur. And it was funny, because when you tell people that I was self-employed back then, they would go, oh, really? And they kind of crack their head back, like they felt sorry for you. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I got divorced in 2013, and you'd run into people and they'd be like, oh, how's so and so? And I'm like, well, we're divorced now. And then they'd be like, oh, really? Like, well, I divorced him because he was a great guy. So I don't know why you're looking at me like that, but it's funny the coordination or the correlation between the two. Like, divorce is very traumatic. It's very saddening. Being your own boss wasn't, but it was funny to think that I was getting that same expression from people.
Oh my goodness.
But now you tell people you're an entrepreneur and they're like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And, I'm in my 8th year of business, and I've noticed a difference just since the pandemic. I mean, and of course, there's been a lot of extenuating circumstances where people have had to work from home or have finally said, I don't have a job. What am I going to do now? And they've taken that leap and decided to do something. But it's been amazing just in the 8 years that I've been an official business. I've been doing this a long time, but it's the face of being your own boss is almost kind of, I wouldn't say that we're celebrities or anything like that, but people are, like you said, so interested and very intrigued to know what it really involves. And they are very clueless too, as to what it really involves and how truly difficult it is to be an entrepreneur. So what is the most difficult thing for you about working from home?
Back when I started, I had 2 kids. So I would be nursing them at my desk and working away. And now they're both off to college. One of them has got his own place and everything now already. So I'm that old, but it seemed like you just can't get comfortable. Mm-hmm. There's always, when you think, okay, this is it. This is my system. This is my schedule. This is my plan. Even without 2020, every day is different.
Yeah.
And you don't, whatever you can do today, I think we try to be this would probably be my biggest advice, is we try to be like, how can I make money today? Mm-hmm. But if you think about this, how can I build this side gig or this hobby or this business so that I'm good tomorrow? Yeah. And I think if I would have known that then, I would have leaned into the Pinterest and the Google search and more of that long-term stability. I think I would have gone down that road more first.
And all the more reason to get a better plan for social media and some of that, because it is more challenging. And consistency has always been important, but I think even more now than ever. Are you finding that it's just a lot harder to get your word out and have your people hear you? And at least I am.
Yes. When I first started, when I did the blog and I was just kind of hiding, I was never going to do anything. I was never going to go live. I was never going to speak in front of people. And now it doesn't bother me, which is funny for me to say. But when I first started, I thought, well, okay, I'll see if I can get some people on my page, and ads had come out. So I'll run $1 a day ad and see how many people I can get over it. We can make that. And I woke up the next morning because I was targeting Cricut or silhouette crafters. And I woke up the next morning for $1. Wasn't even a full dollar at this point, and I had 800 new likes.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And
it's crazy.
I said a string of very bad words because the thought of all those people watching me freaked me out. The ad off, and I kind of marinated on it for a few days. And I'm like, Chelly, that was kind of your goal. Yeah. Isn't that funny? On and now for $1, you are not going to get 800 likes.
No.
So many more other things that you can do. And now it seems like all the systems work together. So we'll do a live, we'll put it on YouTube, and then we'll embed it in a post, and then we'll send an email to it, and write a blog post and pin to it. And it just becomes this huge circle.
Yeah.
And it just stop at all these stops. And you don't have to continuously do the new content in all the places, but you speak on each of those a little bit different. So how you're going to in a blog post would be a little bit different than how you're going to talk on a live on Facebook. But at the end of the day, it's all the same message. And
I think that's an important key to kind of hammer home there is, if you are a small business person at home hearing this right now, or thinking about being, and you're wondering, how is social media going to be a component of your business? Say maybe you're just a brick and mortar, or you just sell digital files. it is my belief that social media or just online advertising in general has a place in your business, no matter what it is that you're doing, if for no other reason that they just see who you are and they hear about your services, and maybe you run tractors or something like that and you can't ship a tractor or something, but there are things that you can do to make people more aware. And I think I say consistency, but I think it just comes back to that. You can have about any kind of business, really. You don't have to be just home based or anything, but social media is a major, major player. And I don't see it going away really anytime soon.
Me neither. And I think people rely on it it's almost like a review.
It
They
is.
know that this or that is out there and it works for so and so. But when they go and they creep your page and they see, oh, look, she's taking her kids to the trick or treating, or look at her make jewelry or whatever it might be. And it becomes that instant connection.
Yeah.
Like Nike pays thousands of dollars to put in front of us, and we can just live our lives with a little sneak peek, and you get to pick what goes out, what doesn't. So you don't have to feel you have to share too much either. But
well, I don't want to take too much of your time today, Chelly, but will you do just a teeny little kind of nutshell walkthrough of the planner for us? Can we see just a tiny sneak peek? I know at the end, I want you to tell us, of course, where to find you. I am going to be getting a planner, and I should have asked you this before I hit record, but I would like to I'd like to get a couple and do a giveaway with my people somehow, but we will talk about the details, and you can get on my social media and see how to do that. But I think people need to use this, and I have been dying to try one. I need all the help I can get as far as getting organized. And because I'm a visual person, I do like the idea of the check boxes, because at the end of the day, you have a visual way of saying, yes, I did accomplish, or oops, I did not accomplish what I had set out to do today. So,
right. Or I have 20 minutes. So what do I do? So now you can pull up your planner. So, okay, I'll just give you a quick rundown. And it's 8.5 by 11, and it's about the size of a notebook. So it's in, wherever you're going, a lot of people call it their business Bible, because you organize your marketing in it, and then say next Black Friday, if you had a sale on your Etsy shop and you were really promoting it, or on your own website, now next year you can just pull up the planner, see what you did, tweak where you need to tweak, and you just planned your marketing 10 times faster. So
that is so slick. I love that.
Yeah. So this year we have the tear-proof covers. So they're really super pretty matte blue. It says 2020, and it says my business planner on the front. So when you're out to coffee, or, in line at the coffee shop, or going to lunch or something, and you've got it, it also becomes a marketing tool, because people will ask you, oh, what is your business?
Your business. Yeah.
When you pull it up, the first thing you're going to see is the month, with a bunch of a square for each month. So 12. And this is where I say we put in, like, May is always in Mother's Day. And if you're a maker, you're probably making something for mothers. And then this might also be where you put in, graduation, all those other events, because you don't want those to sneak up on you. And then maybe you're going to say, okay, I need to do Pinterest this year. I need to do email marketing. So maybe you're going to say, I want to do email marketing in June. And then, it's not going to magically happen. I don't know what program to use. I don't know how I'm going to use it. So you have to research, train yourself, and implement. Mm-hmm. So then you can put those notes on the 3 months before that. Mm-hmm. And that way you make it happen this year. And then there is a note page for every month. But when I flip the page, there is a monthly view, and then there's a note page. So on the monthly view, this is not where I put, like soccer practice and dentist appointment, but this is where I strictly put my marketing. If I'm going to be gone on vacation, last year, my daughter, she graduated from high school. So I made sure that was on my monthly view. So I didn't actually schedule anything that weekend, but this is where we do a new file every week. We do an email, we do 3 emails every week. We do blog posts, and lives. Sometimes we do lives. I don't do as many anymore, but so I will go through and I was going to say pick 4, but this January has 5. But if you sit down and you think, okay, I need to do blogs, or I need to talk about a certain product, and I want to advertise my products, a new one every week. So if you sit down and you just write out those 4 on this page, you'll see it at a glance. And then you can go a few days later and figure out your email or your social media posts, and you have it all there. And then also on this monthly view is a little stats column.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yes.
that's cool.
If you're doing all this marketing and you've made this path for them to go, and then at the end of the month, you need to see if it worked. Otherwise,
Right.
you're not marketing your business. You're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and
Yeah.
not even checking to see if it sticks.
Yeah, that's an important piece. I think, again, I think that's a common denominator in any business. If you don't have a good tracking method or metrics or data, how do you know really if you're improving? So I like that. I like that.
See what worked. And then sometimes what we do just does not work.
Yeah.
So stop putting your time and energy. It's not that you're failing or doing bad, but it didn't work for your business right now. It might next year, it might last year, but
Yeah.
help you track it. And then there's also a little on this monthly view, there's a few check boxes. So these are just business things where, again, you'll want to go in and put your topics. So what products are you going to talk about this month? What new digital files you're going to put out? What emails, blog posts, accounting. I very rarely, my accountant's probably rolling her eyes at me right now, but that one I like to miss. There's no numbers, girl.
Yes.
I like to see it at the end, but to sit down and make myself go through that.
That needs to go in the calendar, put it in the monthly view somewhere, meet with the accountant.
Yeah, highlight it. Okay, so then when you turn the page, you've got your Monday through Friday all on one side.
Nice. Okay.
And then from 8 a.m. or from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then there's some note spaces if you're more of an evening warrior. And then when you turn the page, you've got a full Saturday and Sunday. So this, when you have a side hustle, this could be your work week right there, right? And then down the side is your marketing panel, I like to call it. And this column will help you. There's a place to put your weekly goal in there. So if that's, do my meal planning, make 40 meals so that I don't ever have to decide. I can just pick those, make it simple. Or maybe it is drink your water, or maybe it is research that email program I want to implement because I've been putting it out for 3 weeks and I need to get that done. And then the next box is your live schedules. So this could be your Instagram live, your Facebook live, your YouTube, whatever it might be. And it's going to coordinate with some of the other things like your email campaign. And then there's a little marketing panel. And this is where you can put in products that you already have.
Okay.
We don't always need new content. Sometimes we just need to recycle the old content.
Yeah.
And then a note column, and then there's the little monthly. So you can see the previous month and then the preceding or the current month and the next month date.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
And that's how the planner repeats. In the back, there's a couple of tracking sheets for your income so that it's probably not where you're going to put your monthly expenses or every time you sell something, but if you can put totals in there, and then when you're going back, in a year or 2 years, and you want to see, okay, what did I do with that Black Friday special? And then you look at those sheets and see, like, where did our money come from? Where did our people come from that made us the money?
Well, and sometimes those little snapshots are really all you need to know. You can kind of get a real brief overview of, ooh, that was worth it. And oh boy, we're not spending time on that again this season. So yeah. So let me ask you this, Planner Queen, how far do you actually plan ahead?
Right now, I don't think we have any Facebook posts scheduled, but sometimes they'll be 3 months out. Sometimes
oh my goodness.
It will be done. And it really depends on the season. And I did take July off pretty much this year.
Good for you.
I didn't do as many. I didn't do the blog posts because I felt like people were at the lake and they were on vacation and they were preparing 74 snacks every day for their kids while they were home, and they didn't have time to go look on Pinterest and surf the internet. And I was like, I felt like all those fun projects were being missed. So, and I wouldn't have been able to make that decision and give myself that freedom if I didn't have those numbers that said, okay, people aren't on the website. So
this is a good time to lay out if you need to. Yeah. Okay, so I will get with you about how we want to do the giveaway, but you guys need to be on the lookout for that. If somehow it's going to be share this podcast, you need to follow Chelly, of course. Go see what she's up to. She does some really fun things I follow you mostly on Instagram, but I know you are on Facebook still. Pinterest. I started following you on Pinterest. Is there anywhere else that you would like them to go, or is social media kind of your spot?
It feels like I connect with people more on Instagram right now, but I think that's just the algorithm
Yeah.
of Facebook, and I kind of worry it's just a cyclical cycle, and eventually it'll flip flop, and Instagram will become hard after they give you all those free tools. I feel like they kind of always take back something. So I think, I'm always on the website at wecanmakethat.me. And you can
Okay.
check out more details if you're watching this or listening to this on a podcast and you want to see the pages we talked about. If you go to wecanmakethat.me/planner, you can see a close-up of the pages.
Oh, nice. Okay. And I will put all this in the show notes so anybody can reference it there, and we'll get you all linked up. But before I let you go today, are you good with some rapid fire questions? We need to have a little bit of fun. Okay.
Yes.
You ready for this?
Yep.
All right. I do these with everybody that I interview and they just crack me up. Okay. Number 1, time should always.
Oh, geez, I'm totally drawing a blank. my first thought was be messy. But that's not what somebody who loves organization and planners should say. Right?
But that's a creative person.
Yeah. It should always be scheduled. No.
Okay. Number 2, taking breaks. Blank.
Oh, it really reignites the creativity. We always, I always feel like, well, I have to keep going. I have to keep going. If you take a break, you're just so much more effective afterwards.
It is. I have most of my ideas when I'm not working or anywhere near it, which is crazy. I think that's a really good point. So
in the shower where I have nothing to write
on. Of course. Okay. Number 3, every day I must.
Oh, start with coffee.
Oh, amen, sister.
Yeah. I always, before I just left for about 4 days, and before that, every morning my cat would sit with me, but now I think he's still mad at me. But yeah, I like to sit down, maybe throw in some worship music that kind of gets me going, gets me pumped up.
Nice.
And make sure I find that bottom of that first cup of coffee before I dive into too much.
I hear you.
Usually my planner's next to me, because then I will start to think of, oh, I forgot to do that yesterday, and I have to make myself.
Yeah, that's good. It keeps you regimented. Okay. Number 4, you excel in your business when.
Oh, when you surround yourself with people who are on the same mission, like and rising tides rise all ships, and there's always room for more at the table. So if you can surround yourself with people with that same mentality, it really does ignite that creativity, I think.
I agree with that. And I think people kind of get caught thinking it needs to be just in their industry. And that's not always true. I think it's really good to just surround people that dream big dreams, think big thoughts, and are just kind of taking forward motion, even if it's little tiny steps. I think that's important. So, okay. Number 5, one lesson that helped you most in the early days of your business was.
Oh, geez. I was really quiet when I first started my business. And I think it was the relationship I was in. It kept it small, but also the mentality when you would tell people what you did and they'd give me that book.
Yeah.
And when I stepped into this new online space, well, new to me anyway, I went out with the mentality of, everybody picks that word for the year and it's very inspiring and woo-woo. And the best thing I did for my business was pick the word fail. And that was my word for the year.
Wow.
And that was so that I would get out almost like I was trying to fail. And there was a podcast, it might have even been Amy Porterfield. Now I can't remember. So I knew there was somebody who did a very similar mission where we get in that we want everything to be perfect. Yeah. In the online space, we're putting it out there. But if we don't, life's not perfect. Business is far from perfect. And if we don't accept that there's going to be some little failures and some huge failures, it's going to keep you small. Yeah. And that preceding that year was the thing. I was like, well, I'm printing all these planners because they're dated. And if it fails, then I told my husband, you have to put them in recycling and I don't want to see you carry them out.
Yeah, just be gone.
Yeah. And it went way better than I expected.
Well,
So,
good. I'm glad to hear that. Fail forward, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're failing, you're doing something.
Yep.
Okay. Number 6, what do you want to leave your kids with that you did not have growing up?
Oh, geez. My parents did a great job. We lived in a very small community, and it was a great community. And I think having those people around and just seeing the kids right now too, and it's just such a different world for them.
Yeah, it is.
And they've been raised in this little perfect box, um, out in the world where you've got to, everybody fits in this box. And I'm hoping that they know that just because you have some dream on your heart, if it's nothing that fits into anybody else's box, that doesn't mean it can't be fabulous.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I like that one.
Good.
Okay, number 7, if you could create a law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
Buy my planner? No.
Spoken like a true business owner.
Let's just be kind and let people do what they need to do. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Get back to just loving each other, don't you think? I think
Right.
it would make a big difference. Okay, number 8, what is something that you know to be true that many people might disagree with you on?
Oh, geez. If that crafting is a business.
Oh my gosh, just the creative industry in general. And I don't know, we could do a whole nother podcast on just this topic alone, but it's difficult to be taken seriously sometimes, isn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
for sure is. But it definitely pays off.
Yes, it does. Okay, number 9, what is the biggest lesson you've learned in the last 12 months?
That we are not in control of anything.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. I
All
mean, really
right.
in your control of how you react to things. And that was I think that's what 2020 taught all of us.
I know. I was just thinking I should probably revise this to say, what have you learned in the last 20 months? How long are we into this? I don't know. It feels like 10 years. So,
Yeah, I know, right?
okay. Number 10, what is the one key thing that you would like people to take away today?
Um, if this creative business or this passion that you have, maybe it's not a business, maybe it's a nonprofit, if it's on your heart, it's there for a reason. And when you see other people doing it, a lot of people think, well, someone's already doing it, or, that kind of a thought process, which keeps you from starting or keeps you from pushing forward. And it's really that those people doing what that you have on your heart, that idea that you have on your heart. If you see people doing that already, it's probably because it's working.
Yeah.
You can do it too. And everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah. And speaking of being in your own industry, I think when you're just around the same things all the time, and our business coach that we've been in the same group with together says this all the time, it feels saturated because that's what you're saturating yourself with and you're around it all the time. But not everybody knows what an SVG is. And oh, look, we have a special guest.
Yeah.
See, another reason to go watch us on YouTube. We better introduce this fine sir. Who is this guy?
So this is our cat, Tuxedo.
Hi, Tuxedo. I see why you've named him that.
Usually around 2:00. I don't think he got the time change memo. 'Cause it's 3 now. And he sits here and like he just stands on my stomach and then sits like this. And I normally type around him, but
Another bonus of working from home right there.
Right.
So, well, Chelly, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day. Like I said, I love following you. I love to see what you're up to. I admire just the pretty things that you're putting out and the positive message that you're sending into the world. And I will be danged if I am not going to be more organized in 2022. And you know
Yes.
why I will know is because I will have notes that I can go back and look at. So I will be scooping up one of the planners. I want everybody to take a look. Like I said, I'll put all your information in the show notes where they can go get their very own. And let's do a giveaway. Let's have some fun and give one away. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun.
Okay, well, I will hopefully have you back one of these days, but thank you again for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun catching up and good to see you.
All right, bye, Chelly. Thank you.